And with that, we are back from a delayed recording.
Wet.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is the race was more delayed than the recording is because it was about 15 minutes for us.
Yeah. Well, hey.
When does that ever happen? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, post Michigan, on a rained out race for the second year in a row.
I read somewhere Michigan hasn't had a non-rain affected race since 2019, and that was a fluke.
That is absurd.
2020 wasn't rain affected, or was rain affected?
Apparently, it was. Yeah, apparently.
I'm trying to think now. I don't remember 2021. It rained at all.
It was at the very. I mean, it said rain affected. I'm not.
What does that mean? Does that mean like?
Oh my god.
No.
Whatever.
Like,
hey
everyone,
welcome to the Fake Racers podcast. My name is Davey. That's Joe. That's Matt, and I'm Davey. We'd like to welcome you this week to the Fake Racers podcast. Once again, I don't know. I'm starting the intro because I thought it was going to be a fun little factoid, and now Joe's gonna go through his goddamn almanac and figure out what the fuck rain we had.
I am. Okay, so let's just dive into it. Apparently, Tyler Reddick won. Broke Ford's streak of 9 straight races at Michigan that they have won.
That's wild.
Toyota takes home the Heritage Trophy, I think for the first time. I don't think they had this trophy back in 2015 when they last won. They might have. I don't remember. Did they talk about that at all in the broadcast?
That's not a thing that anybody talks about. Okay.
Well, Michigan, because it's like, it's the manufacturer's backyard, they have like a separate trophy that goes to the manufacturer. So like Ford's had it the last 9 years. It kind of just looks like a building with a person with a flag on top of it. It's not the craziest like trophy, but apparently Ford really likes winning it.
Well, yeah, they probably made it, and then only they have won it. So
yeah. So now Toyota will have it, so that'll be interesting next year when they have to like give it back to the track, because it's not like a trophy you keep; it's a trophy you have to give back.
That's interesting.
So
for what it's worth, the USRL Discord, which is like heavily into weird stuff like that, I search Heritage Trophy. Literally nothing exists for it.
That's cool. That's cool. Hey, Tyler Reddick won it though for Toyota, so that's cool. Tyler Reddick wins his second race of the year. He continues a streak of 7 races where I think his average finish is 3.97. I think was the number I saw.
That is
absurd. Most dominant stretch since Larson did something similar in 2021.
Yep, put himself in the points lead.
Yep. Absolutely outdueled William Byron there at the end.
Made it look easy. Made him look like a child, which he is.
Well, so we had 2 overtime restarts there, right? So we had the first one where Byron was able to get the lead because of where the caution came out. And then you had that one where Reddick just kind of drove away. Now, the one thing I have to say about that second overtime, what was Brad Keselowski doing going into turn 1, where he just slammed on the brakes?
Yeah, he let off so early. And so I was watching the highlights of this beforehand because I had to work today, and it's so funny to watch that stack up just like bounce all the way back until Harrison Burton, of course, is the one who gets screwed by it the most, because that's Harrison Burton. But yeah, it was truly bizarre, and I think it was Kyle Busch was like clapping at him on Twitter.
Yeah, he did. I took a screenshot of it. That was great. I was so happy about that because I was like Kirkland Water. I was very happy about it.
I actually missed that because I was so hard rooting for Reddick that I didn't even catch it. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah.
But.
I also want to give a shout out on the green-white checkers. Chase Elliott, teammate of the year.
Destroyed Alex Bowman.
Yeah, just cleans out Alex Bowman off of 2.
Friend of the year too.
And then does basically. I haven't seen what happened, but I know he screwed over Blaney on the next restart too. So, great job, bud. Reddick was super impressive.
Had one of the best cars all day. Him and Bubba, I think, had the 2 best cars.
Yeah.
Larson was pretty good, too. Isn't that crazy? I saw that, and I'm at work, and I'm watching it on my phone, and I had to, like, hold it in to not scream. What the fuck are you doing, Brad?
He just missed a shift? How do you do that in a sequential? Like,
what's great about
double pumped, maybe? I don't know.
What's great about it too is because the next gen just bounces off it. They all just bounce off each other. Like you need to just put like cartoon bonks over every single one of those.
It
and
looks
it'd
like
be
that
perfect.
flash, that like drafty car flash game that used to
Yeah.
exist. It looks like that, and then Harrison
It
Burton
does.
is just at the receiving end. It's like like Newton's Cradle. Like Harrison Burton gets sent to the back. Like that is so funny. Oh my god! Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I hadn't seen that.
So that was very rough.
Yeah,
But I
that
think
was a
Brad
good
ends
one.
up finishing 5th. I think Kyle Busch got 4th.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
Bush 4th, Brad 5th.
Who got 3rd?
Ty Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs.
Ty.
Which I don't know if anybody else saw this, but on the run to the line, like Ty Gibbs, when he got to the line, he just like yanked a hard right and drove out to the outside wall.
Yeah.
Don't know what that was about either. It was bizarre.
I was just
It
having
didn't
fun.
really have any effect on anything,
He's just
but I was
having
like,
fun.
Ty, what are you doing?
He's just having fun, you know?
He's
You gotta-
bored.
You gotta have a little fun.
Yeah. Also,
He had an impressive
Shouts.
race, though.
shouts out to Spire Motorsports, Zane Smith 7th, Carson Oswald 10th. I think it was their first ever double top 10.
We'll get to what happened.
And surely nothing else happened to that team today.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's talk about something else did happen, oddly enough, Matt, to that team today. Corey
Oh,
LaJoie
really?
flipped his dick off.
You went up, dog.
He did. Really weird spot for him coming off of turn 2, got to the inside of Noah Gragson. Did they make contact, Davey? Because you were the only one that was like 100% locked
yeah.
in.
So they showed some like cursory replays of like the lap previous to that where they like got into each
Gregson's
other or
like
something.
chopping his nose. or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So-
just
LaJoie carried a ton of momentum off the outside off 2, and then Gregson just slammed the door on him.
Just 20th
and-
place things. Anyways, go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. It was exactly that. Just like two guys racing for 20th place, like, Cup drivers will say that those are the hardest. It was like that. And then next lap, Corey LaJoie gets the same run, brings it to the inside of Noah Gragson. I assume he was going for a side draft, and then proceeds to attempt the worst side draft ever. Bounces off of Noah Gragson, spins into the infield, and just very quickly the car turns right over, like without missing a beat. It wasn't a slow roller like we've kind of maybe seen in Michigan, like back in the 90s or back in the
When there was
Dizzy.
grass.
when there's grass, because the grass makes the cars blow over. Remember that.
No, the grass makes them flip violently.
I know that. I'm just
Yeah, okay.
people were
Don't be a smartass. Continue.
people were unironically thinking that the grass caused blowovers. Anyway, point being, what the hell happened? What the hell happened?
Yeah.
I we talked about this a little bit pre-show, but I saw some chatter both on the radios and post-race with
That
potential
gust of
data to
wind
back
got
it
him.
up. Because it was really windy in Michigan. Joe corroborated this. That there were gusts of wind going the direction of like down the back straightaway, like the wrong way, that could have played a factor into it. And then that led people actually to then check the day previous or the Saturday race where Kyle Sieg flipped over, and sort of the same data kind of showed up. So maybe both of them could have been affected by gusty days in Michigan. I mean, it seems like it shouldn't be enough, but I mean, who knows? Aerodynamics are finicky. Joe knows more about this than I do, but
Yeah. I mean, car just got put in a bad spot.
So I'm scrubbing through it just on the Twitter video, and a thing that I find interesting is he makes the contact with Gragson, right? And when the car's at 90, like not even rear end out, like still kind of pointed forward, the right front's lifting off the ground.
Yeah, so
Um,
what's probably
go ahead.
happening is there's pressure building right in that wheel well. So
Yeah. Well, I
like
was
a
gonna say because
chute.
the side skirts have that little taper where they're straight and then they cut in, and so I have to imagine air's getting in through that, which is causing the front end to get off the ground. And then at that point, it's gone.
The other thing is it doesn't help the underside of these cars. And I feel good because I've been saying this since this car came out that this is a problem, and now I'm starting to see people bring it up more and more. So that makes me feel good as someone that sciences a lot. The problem, this car is flat underneath like it is, and then people are like, well, why did Kyle Sieg flip over? Well, the way they engineer the bottoms of the Xfinity cars is kind of how they used to do the Cup cars, and they tried to make them as flat as possible because that's the best for straight line speed. Doesn't mean it's perfectly flat. Kyle Sieg's flip is a little more weird. I think Davey alluded to that, but that was more of a case of a car getting hit at kind of a weird, just the way it got spun. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't done force body diagrams or anything, so I don't know. Cars are gonna flip when they're going 200 miles per hour. I mean, it's
that's the other thing.
It's an inevitable part of the sport. You just have to make sure the drivers don't get hurt.
Yeah. I agree with that. Do what you can to mitigate it, of course, but
oh no, let them flip.
No.
Flips are cool.
Flips are cool. We're just really lucky that didn't happen at the front stretch grandstand and into the fence. Like, I know you guys are memeing, but there's like the sentiment is
I
like
know.
a little worrying
Yeah.
how like much we meme for like brain goo wrecks and stuff, and like the meme is funny, but like I really don't want us to lose the fact that like that is incredibly dangerous, and we'll never be able to fully stop it. But let's keep trying to mitigate it. Let's let it happen. Let's appreciate that it happens so that we can learn from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would always rather make sure the drivers and fans and whatnot are safe before I try to stop inaction from happening. I'd rather make my safety to focus on, okay, if the worst possible situation does happen, how do I make sure that everyone's safe?
Exactly.
This whole, we need to make sure cars aren't able to flip at all or things like that, like, it's unrealistic because it can happen. So
it's trying to solve the wrong problem, in my opinion.
At the end of the day, you're just trying to keep everyone that is at that facility on that day of a race safe, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that goes for any sport, right? Like, you're just, the big thing in the NFL now is these guardian caps and stuff, and our players going to wear them in games, and some players are already, it's to keep players safe. It's end of the day. It's not going to stop. It's not going to completely prevent, but it's to help mitigate.
Dale Jr. had a really good tweet about it too, which was in response to Kenny Wallace saying it was the flat belly of the car, as if we didn't see the exact same thing the day before. And it's like, Kenny, maybe not.
He's not wrong, though. It doesn't. Again, it doesn't help.
To blame that as the sole cause of this, I think is wrong, though. Especially when, like we were just saying, we saw the exact same thing almost exactly the same thing the day before.
Did you see the tweet where it's a picture of the wall where they hit the exact same spot in the wall?
Yeah, I did see that.
That's
yeah.
nuts.
But Junior's tweet said, Junior's tweet said, for sure, and cars have been flipping in NASCAR since the beginning. It's an unpleasant consequence of going fast, and we should always go fast. It's just, like you're saying, Joe, not to say that we should do nothing, but this is what happens when you sling cars around at 200 miles an hour, is aerodynamics take over at some point.
Yep.
And you can only fight the powers of nature so much.
I like physics.
I like physics too.
Some drivers that don't like physics included Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain. They were all in the bubble, and boy howdy, their bubble just it was a mess coming into the week, and it's still a mess now. I think Bubba's out by 1. Buescher's in by 7, I think, right? Like,
I have it pulled up right now. Yeah, Bubba's down 1. Buescher's plus 16.
16. Oh, okay, so he's better. Congrats on the 6th place finish.
Ty Gibbs plus 39, and also worth noting, Truex plus 77. That gap continuing to shrink with another bad race.
Yeah.
But it didn't. They stopped the bleeding at least.
Yeah.
Because it was shrinking by like 30 points a week the last few. So stop the bleeding. So that's good. Getting better. Same thing with Ty Gibbs, right? He was, I think he came into the day 16 to the good.
Yeah, I believe so. And he is now, plus 39. So
almost over doubled that gap. But let's talk about it. So Bubba Wallace gets involved in Kyle Larson being really aggressive on a restart, coming to the end of a stage, right? That was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chase Elliott. Obviously, I don't think there was anything you could do, but he did run Bubba over into that wreck, so that was funny.
There wasn't really
nothing you could do.
I love making fun of Chase Elliott. Trust me, I would if I could, but there's really nothing you could do. There's plenty of other people who piled into that wreck that didn't need to. Todd Gilliland.
Yeah.
Well, these things happen.
Love the kid, but that he bowled in that wreck. I mean, he came in so hot.
Turn 4 was a very troublesome spot. Like Denny spun there right in front of me where I was sitting.
About the
same
same exact thing too. Yeah,
it was kind of cool. So all of a sudden, watching Denny trying to, he was trying to pass Bubba, and he just didn't.
It was one of those situations where the car just goes into like a 4-wheel slide, and then you get behind on steering, like we say, and then all of a sudden the front end hooks up on exit, and you're around.
Yep. Happens a lot with the next gen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was such a bummer too, because like people have been mentioning, the Bubba's been coming on hot in the last few weeks, and then that ridiculous pass he made on Larson and Hamlin for
that was awesome.
All-star shit. But
Awesome.
yeah, I where did they end up finishing? I've got to pull that.
Not good.
26th. So
Bubba was outside top 20 for sure.
yeah.
Ross being involved in that overtime incident and losing a lap helped them tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because they were going to be double digits down to the cutoff.
Yeah. Today was a bummer for me, who was looking at the bubble and like thinking, oh man, I really hope that my dream of a Ty Gibbs-less playoff happens and I can get a couple of these guys I really
Still
like into the playoffs. Still could. Definitely still could.
Daytona.
But it was a bad day for that because Ty Gibbs had a very good run, like you said. Daytona could happen. Ty Gibbs had a very good run, and then all the bubble drivers that I liked all crashed.
Yeah.
So it was a little rough.
How did Ty do at Darlington in the spring?
Let me look it up.
He probably ran pretty well because he was really running well earlier in the season.
Because
Ty Gibbs
this
looks like a
track is in his
toddler.
wheelhouse. Like, that's what people don't realize. Michigan and Kansas are like one and the same right now. They were both repaved around the same time. They're both really fast. Ovals.
He finished second.
Yeah,
Gross.
okay, that's what I thought. So, not good if you're the 23, because all three of those guys ahead of you have run very well at Darlington, and Daytona's a crapshoot. But, you never know. You never know. Justin Allgaier won the Xfinity race. Pretty entertaining Xfinity race. One in which Riley Herbst just cleared himself going into turn 3.
That was hilarious to watch, by the way.
Yeah.
I shout out to MIS for having working Wi-Fi. That was kind of cool. I could actually pull up YouTube TV on my phone and watch replays. So that was actually, that was the one positive of the weekend from the at-track experience. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So it was cool getting to watch that, and then I plugged a headphone in so I could listen to his interview. Or maybe it was his MRN interview, and he's like, yeah, I just cleared myself, and obviously I wasn't clear. So shout out to Riley for being like...
Yeah, upon watching it,
bad.
my first thing was I thought he tried to move back up and didn't expect whatever car it was he got into.
I think he got called clear.
I think, I think that's what he ended up saying later on. Initially, I thought it was he expected, I think it was Sieg he got together with, to be here, and Sieg was a lane and a half down from the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just a really goofy looking crash.
Yeah, a spotter did call him clear. It did not help his case though that he went from bottom to top very quickly.
Yeah.
That's still even though he got called clear, that's still not a move he probably should have made. And so
Yeah.
I'm happy that he was able to kind of look at it and be like, well, okay, that happened and everyone saw it, and I'm just glad I'm okay. I won a race. I don't have to worry about this anymore. Said he.
I was gonna say, are we starting to like Riley Herbst?
No, not in the sense of
I'm not saying anything yet.
He's kind of funny. That's the problem. I'm finding him more and more
crazy.
funny the more he opens up.
It's crazy. When drivers have personality, they're actually interesting. Yeah. Wow. What a concept. What a novel idea.
I'm going to be a little mad if we end up going full circle on Riley Herbst.
Oh, I got a tangent. Can I give a tangent real quick?
Go.
Yeah.
All right. I was at the McDonald's there in Brooklyn. I missed the Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick setup because they didn't have any signs at the McDonald's that they were going to be there that day. But they still had the car set up. So I went and saw the car, and I was talking to this guy who had brought his son on. He said they figured it out that morning so they drove from Detroit to go there, and I was talking with him, and we were talking about a lot of stuff. He didn't like the playoffs. He said they don't make sense. He felt bad for Ross Chastain at the end of the year. New fan, too. So for all this is a good... Tommy's going to love a lot of the things I say here, let me tell you. But so he didn't like the playoffs, so there's that. But then I don't know. We got to talking about drivers and personality, and like talked about like, oh yeah, Bubba and Tyler, they're cool. Like they got good personalities and stuff, and they're not afraid to show it. And talked about like Bubba not performing the greatest and needs to like kind of step it up, like he has been the last few weeks. And then we somehow got around to Chase Elliott because Chase Elliott was doing an appearance at the casino that sponsors the Sunday race, and he said, "Yeah, I just wish I guess his son. He's like, yeah, he likes Chase Elliott, but I just wish Chase Elliott had personality, like legit said that. And I was like, oh my God. Casual fans notice it too. That's awesome.
Dude, one of my favorite memes that I've seen in a hot minute is it's a picture of Chase Elliott in his press conference and his face has been all distorted. And the ticker says Chase Elliott takes personality test, comes back negative. And I think about that a little too often.
Do you remember when the Netflix documentary came out and we talked about, like, why was Chase not in there? Like, he should have been in, like, he brought that up about, like, Chase's comment about, I know Chase wasn't in the playoffs. That's probably why he wasn't in the Netflix documentary. Whatever. Don't worry about it. But the fact that someone brought that up unprompted, just... I enjoyed that. Because, like, a Chase Elliott fan isn't going to ever say anything bad about Chase Elliott, No. Like, they love him. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I get it. He drives the 9 car. You liked Bill. You think he's attractive. Whatever. I don't see it, but maybe you do. I don't know. I thought that was funny. Then he brought up the Chase's comment about the Netflix show, and I almost lost it there. I was like, oh, man, that's a good one.
I have to imagine he wasn't on the Netflix show because he just does the Eli Tomac thing and he just like sits in a cave for 3 months during the off season and does nothing.
Probably. Who knows? NASCAR red flagged the end of the Xfinity race for light precipitation to then get an overtime finish. Are we okay with that?
I thought it was a little weird, but I don't know. Like, I think would have called it, but the red flag was pretty brief.
Yeah.
So, I think if it was raining hard, absolutely would have called it right then and there. But I think they saw like this is like 45 minutes at most. I think we can get this in.
It wasn't even that.
Yeah.
It was like 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, if they're that confident, we're kind of getting to the point where I'm sort of trusting NASCAR on decisions like this.
Yeah.
They're kind of proving that they can handle it. What?
Yeah.
First hand account. Let's talk about Sunday then.
Okay.
That was a mess. I did not enjoy
Was
it.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
How so?
When they started the race at, what was it, 5 o'clock, 4:30? 4:30 or 5, whenever they started the race, they knew they were not going to get that race in that day. And
it's pretty late start time, too.
I love hearing people say, well, at least they got laps in for the fans there. You know what? Maybe you're right, but I don't think you are. I think you're wrong. Because I would have much rather had more time, could have got home at a decent hour, and then would have had an opportunity to try to go today. And have time to make a plan. Instead of it being dropped on my head at, what was it, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, that we weren't going to go back racing. NASCAR in their book says they will not start a race unless they think they can make it to the finish of the event. And they just disregarded that because there were 3 or 4 lines of storms that were coming through. And that was so freaking frustrating. Because I am sitting there just trying to figure out, okay, is this the time we have to leave, or is it going to be the next time? Or is it going to be the next time? So, Davey's stone-faced. He doesn't agree with me at all.
It's not that I don't agree. I was just kind of having like war flashbacks to driving down to Daytona and then getting word that it was going to start 12 hours later, like that day, like 10 minutes out from the track.
I saw people bring up for tracks that don't have lights, start the races earlier. I am all for that. I mean, that place was packed at noon. Like, it would have been fine to start early. I don't think, this track's kind of in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like, for this one specifically, if you start earlier, I don't think it's going to really hurt your attendance. I know it's a TV thing, but sometimes, TV needs to maybe give way for people that actually go to the event.
I agree with that.
Dude, I get why. I just hate hearing the the TV ratings are better. And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't really matter if a third of the schedule gets rained out. because we don't have time to
And then it
drive
moves
the
to
track.
Monday.
Yeah, and then it gets moved to Monday, and then
the
people like
ratings
me
are
don't get to
crap.
watch it at all.
Yeah.
I literally went on my break, my 10-minute break in the morning, and saw everybody freaking out, and I was like, oh god, somebody flipped. Like, that was how I experienced the race secondhand. Like, I watched a bunch of people in Discord explain to me what was happening.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's becoming comical how bad it is, and it seems like NASCAR has their balls in a vice. Like
the other
from TV networks, it's just weird.
The other thing is we knew this was going to be a problem Thursday. We knew Wednesday. We knew Tuesday.
Move it up to
true.
noon and get a chance to get racing actually in, you know.
Because guess what? If we would have started at noon, or even noon 30, I don't know, whatever, would have got the whole race in between the 50 laps they ran later in the afternoon, and then they probably could have run the 150, 120, whatever it would have been. But they would have at least had an official race on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's the thing that baffles me the most about it is, we go to so many tracks that don't have lights, and then we put the race at the very last possible window that we can run it in. And if there's any sort of delay, then we have to, we run into lighting issues, which is now why we have the rules for, where we can shift a race to time-based. Yeah. And it's like, why create this issue, for slightly better TV numbers? Is it really worth it?
Plus, morning NASCAR vibes are kind of unmatched.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And like the race got done at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock Eastern, and I had my whole day to do something else. Like, I'm lucky where I work from home, right? So like, if that was on a Sunday where everyone got to kind of do whatever they want, there was like plenty of time to like I don't know. It just makes sense. Like, just tracks don't have lights. Just start the damn thing earlier. Why? What are we doing?
Yeah, if we're not going to run races earlier, then they need to put lights up at as many tracks possible. I get for places like Dover, you can't.
Right.
But for, like, Michigan, there's really not an excuse.
Well, the excuse is...
Roger.
The Roger?
Or does Roger Penske not own
No, NASCAR
Michigan?
does. And let me... While
I'm blaming Roger Penske anyway, because I have strong feelings about that, too.
I have some very...
a lot of that. A lot of
people,
that, too.
I saw Bob Pockris bring up the fact that it would cost a lot because you have to, like, parking lots, you have to, like, auxiliary roads around there, you have to do all this. And you know what?
Yeah.
Sure, maybe you're right. They haven't invested money in this facility in the last 15 years since they repaved it. I have not seen one meaningful change to this facility in all of those years. I'm talking half the bathrooms were closed, concession stands closed, the freaking hand dryers were rusty. So I was worried about getting tetanus anytime I had to dry my hands. Just facility, it's not in a state of disrepair. It's just in a state of they don't care. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to show up to this race no matter what. They know that. So what's the point of trying to improve the fan experience? None. So
yeah.
I was very, very frustrated with that. Ticket prices have gone up the last couple of years, I think, which doesn't help that they have one race. But
the most ridiculous thing about it is, like you were mentioning with the Heritage Trophy thing earlier, like, this could be a marquee event. It's in the backyard of the big three, right? Ford and Chevy have huge presences in Detroit, and they have this track is a huge sense of pride for the two Detroit automakers that are still in NASCAR. And if you're Toyota, it means a lot to you to go into their backyard and take one from them. And, like, you would think that because of how much this place sells out, that Chevy and Ford and NASCAR would be pouring money into this place to make it a marquee event and make it something worth going to. But they don't. Because who cares? Yeah.
And to add on top of that, like, the very nice, wholesome tradition and importance reasons aside, the next gen puts on great racing at Michigan. And for that matter, so does the Xfinity Series. Like,
yeah,
there's really no reason that this race can't be a classic every year. They just have to make it happen, and they're not going to, which is very frustrating.
Very frustrating. Infield sells out every year. Everyone talks about how, you got the best fans in Michigan, which is, I don't know, they probably say that everywhere they go. But you know what? I believe it, damn it. So it's just it's very frustrating because we only get one.
Also, I was gonna say I don't know if we ever said it outright, but Kyle Sieg did flip several times down the backstretch.
Yes,
on the
yes,
final lap.
Yes. Yes.
We've kind of tiptoed around that so far, but big shit happened on the last lap. So,
yeah.
Just rehash everything that we were talking about Corey Lajoie and trying to figure out why he flipped, because it was almost identical.
Yep.
So. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Also, I want to go back to the Brad Keselowski stopping on the restart thing. And I heard this. I totally forgot about it, but he was having ignition issues all day, and his car cut off on the restart.
Oh, okay.
That's still
makes
funny.
sense.
It is funny. It's very funny.
Yeah.
It makes me sad now. Now I'm sad, but it's still funny.
If you can find a replay of the restart, just watch it and look at this. Look at Brad.
I've been thinking I need to make more NASCAR shit posts, and I should make the bonk edit of that tonight.
Yes. IndyCar from Gateway controversy continues to follow officiating in IndyCar. You guys can talk about it. I didn't get to watch it. The guy I like won for the team that I like, so I don't think I'm allowed to have an opinion here. So I'll just I'll sit over here in the corner.
So
Please don't
I'm
beat
not.
me up.
I'm not accusing there being some sort of race-fixing controversy or conspiracy when I tweeted what I tweeted, but it feels gross that you have, the most dominant car owner also owns the series, and then you have a situation where one of his drivers is racing somebody for the win, and in the middle of pit stops, and said driver 100% at fault wrecks the other guy for essentially the lead, and it traps everybody except his two teammates a lap down, which literally guarantees a Roger Penske win in Roger Penske's racing series. And then on the restart, I can't call it either way, but people were mad at Joseph Newgarden for laying back on the restart. I don't know enough about what was going on. But then you get the absolute fucking joke, which is that Colton Herta gets a penalty for kind of blocking Linus Lundqvist. He ran him down to the apron, but Linus still got by him, and yet Will Power just flat out wrecking David Malukas got nothing. And there is unrest in the paddock that they are calling IndyCar's officiating in their integrity into question. And I think that is as big of a we've talked so much about the conflict of interest so much since Roger Penske bought the series, and no race summed that up more than that. So it left me with such a gross feeling in my mouth afterwards.
Yeah, it's almost dangerous to label the horrible officiating as just incompetence. You kind of almost have to attribute it to the Penske thing, right?
There's no other explanation.
Will Power wrecked wrecked him. I mean, he wrecked him. That was not a mistake. He wrecked David Malukas, and
Yelled
didn't
at
get a
him
penalty.
Yelled at him.
Yeah, and then screamed at him
because he's a man-child.
He's weird.
And okay, and then a lot of people were saying oh, Will Power didn't get a penalty because he ended up wrecking on the next restart, so that's his penalty. No, the hell it's not. No, it's not. That's BS. So you're telling me Will Power could have wrecked the crap out of David Malukas just then, and then also wrecked himself, and they're like, oh yeah, well whatever. It was avoidable contact, and it was inherently dangerous, and it was at an oval, but he wrecked himself too, so it doesn't matter. No, they would never. Not for another driver, they would never do that. It is ridiculous. And the Joseph Newgarden stuff, we get a lot of mixed opinions. I was watching the race. My opinion, they showed an onboard from the back of Joseph Newgarden's car, and there's you can't mistake the sound of a car decelerating. You can't mistake the sound of RPMs going down, or I don't understand where the argument's coming from. He was very Joseph Newgarden was very clearly slowing down into the restart, not zone because they don't have a zone, but into the restart, into going back on the gas, and caused a stack up that messed everything up. It's ridiculous at this point because we've talked about it ad nauseum where just IndyCar had it all, IndyCar had everything. IndyCar had star power. IndyCar had talented race car drivers. IndyCar had Fernando Alonso coming to race in the Indy 500. IndyCar had Jimmy Johnson coming to race in the Indy 500, lighting him up on ovals. Yeah, he was bad on the road courses, but, whatever. Like, there's
Kyle Larson,
lightning in a bottle. Kyle Larson. Albeit...
best race car driver in the world.
I feel like a lot of the fumbling of the bag happened before Kyle Larson, but they're continuing to fumble the bag now that he's come and done it, and now that he wants to come do it again. Is IndyCar just destined to be this? Is this what it's going to be? Is this what it is forever? Because right now, the only person I see behind the series is Liberty Media, and they're going to turn it into a Formula One feeder series. So, I don't know what we're doing.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know
God.
what the plan is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing. They have a fantastic package. They have cars that look awesome. They put on a great show. They have world-class drivers in Scott Dixon and Alex Palou and Joseph Newgarden, and all that anybody talks about is how they just screw everything up, And it's such a shame that the series built around the greatest spectacle in racing can't find a way to have, fair officiating. Because that's what it feels like at this point. It's really hard to interpret the way that the officials ruled the end of this race as anything other than extremely biased. And you can't have that. If you want to be this kind of... what is the word I'm looking for? But like, IndyCar is considered very pure, right? There's not a lot of gimmicks. And if you want to be this bastion of, like, the sanctity of racing, right? It needs to be fair.
You need to uphold it.
Yeah, exactly. You need to follow your own rules, and you can't let your top tier talent do stuff like that and get away with it because car owners in charge of everything. That's not okay. And this is exactly what the problem is. There's a reason why when the NFL-AFL merger happened, they didn't let Al Davis be the commissioner because he owned a team, and he held that against them for years, but it was the right call. Mm-hmm. You cannot have people who have an interest in competition be in charge of the competition. It's just not okay,
Let's make sure NASCAR allows the France family to buy a charter.
Ugh. God. Yeah, sometimes the charter talk gets really sick, but I'm so happy that the teams are, like, holding firm on that, because if the you cannot let that happen. You cannot let that happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up and mentioned it that way, because it is worrisome that we don't have a new charter deal signed yet. And maybe this is the optimist in me. Maybe this is the new NASCAR speaking to me, making all these good decisions, and I'm just being a little optimist and a little NASCAR daddy's boy. But the more that there's deliberation back and forth, the more that I'm confident that something good will get signed. Even if not all of it's good, there's at least going to be something in there that benefits enough sides for it to be a thing that maybe shows up on the racetrack, or at least provides longevity to these teams that they're looking for, whatever, And, I look at IndyCar and I just see a shaky foundation.
Yep.
A shaky foundation with an old car, not enough money to redevelop it, but a need to redevelop it, and I don't see a way forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and the possibility of it being Liberty Media being the only ones to, take over definitely scares me, because I don't like that.
Well, could you imagine them owning IMS?
Ugh.
Because that's also what would happen. You realize that, right?
You're right.
Because don't forget, that track and that race is more valuable than anything else they have on their calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
anything
100%.
else that goes along with that series.
That's a good point.
So,
you'd be hard-pressed to find a single racing series that would not be salivating at the idea of getting that.
could you imagine the Indy 500 is an F1 race?
It used to be.
I know.
Could you imagine
Again.
the Indy 500 as a NASCAR race?
Ooh, that's pretty interesting.
What if NASCAR bought IndyCar? I'm just saying.
They could do it. They could do it.
What if Roger
the
Penske sold to USAC?
SRX is taking over, baby. Here we go.
I mean, he could sell to Ray Evernham, and then the series would be dead in 2 years. But
Ray Abraham is the king of doing something for 5 years and then quitting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The new Indy car is just
Even
the
his
old
wife.
IROC chassis.
I was gonna say he's still married to Aaron though, right?
Not the first one though.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
live
He's
and
like,
learn.
hang on, babe. Let me sabotage Jeremy Mayfield's career for you.
Crazy. Let's go ahead and get ready to go from the shop. It was announced
Good.
Saturday night as I was in the parking lot waiting to pick up takeout. The Clash heads back to Bowman Gray in 2025. Or heads to, I guess. I said back, but heads to Bowman Gray
Wow.
in 2025. Next year,
Close enough.
Clash from Bowman Gray Stadium. How we feel?
I think it's
I
cool.
like it.
I'm bummed to lose the Coliseum.
Yeah.
No
I
race
think
in
it won't.
SoCal. at all.
Yeah, that sucks.
Not a great move.
No. I think Bowman Gray will not be the type of shit show that we normally see there because NASCAR will be running things. So we'll see.
God, I hate when I just agree with everything Matt said. I can't say anything now, but like, no, I agree. I think it's gonna be a cool. I really hope. Man, someone posted a really long clip of the start of like one of the K&N races at Bowman Gray, and I just loved the vibes of it with those cars, and the next gen's not gonna hit the same on that track, which is unfortunate, but I hope they can bring some of the vibes back. It's going to be cold, by the way. It's going to be freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
I think they should let Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. race because they're the only two that have experience.
I mean, I'm sure.
And Clint Boyer. So those are the only three that have experience with this car at this track. So they should be allowed to race.
Gotcha.
Just them. Only them.
Just them. Only those
No.
three.
That's
The Clash is just like 3 retired guys.
The Clash. I mean, if this charter deal doesn't get done, who knows?
It might be that. You're gonna be pulling
Could you
stuff out of the
imagine
Hall
they
of
lock
Fame.
out?
Like we
There's a
just need
lockout for
some
the
race
Daytona
cars.
500?
I mean,
Oh, jeez.
who knows what's going to happen with the Clash? I mean, I'm sure they'll do something cool. The venue is really unique.
And that's what
got
you
its
want for
history.
this event, right? Like
Yeah.
it needs to rotate. This is an event that should travel. Now it should probably
Yeah.
travel in like the southeast. Let's keep them close to home. You know, I don't know if we need to go all the way out to LA and back, but whatever. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that killed the Clash at the Coliseum was as cool of an event as it was, it's a logistical nightmare.
Well, rain killed
Yeah.
it the last year.
That
and,
too, yeah.
You know, not even that, but like NASCAR has to pay to set up the track, and
Yeah.
you know this
Can I
will be
can I
cheaper,
throw something crazy out there?
more profit.
Just real quick, while we're on it, can I just throw something crazy? Can I just throw something
Do
a
it.
little silly?
Yeah,
What
sure.
if they went to Australia in the winter? Because it'd be summer there.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Exactly. Because it'd be summer there.
That'd be a logistical nightmare.
They're gonna bring the Clash to like what was it, Brazil or some shit? Like next, like
Yeah, true.
speaking of international, they're going to Mexico next year supposedly. So
Thank you, NASCAR Latino at NASCAR Latino.
it's just a guy.
Can you imagine that as in a real account? That's a pretty real looking graphic, though. Let me tell you,
I'm gonna look it
is.
up.
that's their font and everything. Let me tell you.
They have
So-
19,000 followers, and Trackhouse Racing follows them. So, and the official NASCAR page follows them. So I think it's pretty real.
So NASCAR pays a company to run this account, and they apparently did not run it correctly. So the schedule was leaked. NASCAR has said that it's not entirely correct, whatever that means. Watch them go and like switch a couple dates around just so
It's just out of spite. Like, see, we told you.
You thought the Daytona 500
really
was
funny.
after the Daytona duels? No, it's before.
that's very funny. Oh my god.
So a couple things that stuck out to me: Darlington's in April instead of May. Michigan moves from August to June, so hopefully that helps with rain. Nashville moves forward into June, Sonoma's in July, right after Chicago, which if Chicago's on there, I'm assuming that's the street course.
Why are we moving Sonoma further into the heat of summer?
Iowa's
I really
in...
don't understand that.
It was literally like 116 every single day of July this year.
And Iowa's
Why are we
in
doing
August.
this?
Really what they should do is they should put Sonoma, like, where Miami is, and then move Miami to where Kansas is.
Put it before Phoenix, so then you have it part of the West Coast swing, and it's green.
Well, but you gotta
Problem
get Coda.
solved.
Coda's in there. Coda's the third race of the year.
Ah, okay. Actually, no, yeah, you are right, before Miami. Whatever. We're already running back-to-back road courses.
Yeah, just put this.
Do it somewhere
Swap.
else.
I think NASCAR has a problem with California because they killed off Auto Club, they killed off the Clash, and now they're trying to kill all of us in the heat.
Just swap Sonoma and Martinsville. You'll be chill.
Who got the Auto Club date? What track got the Iowa, right? Iowa
think
has
so.
it right now, so I wonder what happens when the Auto Club's done. Does Iowa lose its date? Because I don't think Iowa should lose its date.
I agree. Put on a really good race.
And really, I mean, that crowd was awesome. Let's take a date away from Darlington again.
They probably hell no. They probably won't go to Coda.
Yeah, but that's a SMI date. It doesn't matter. Whatever you say.
God.
We'll take a race away from Worldwide Technology Raceway, even though they actually put money into their venue to make it fun. Playoffs, we had already talked about the playoffs thing because that got leaked. Another thing that's all but been confirmed is that Rockingham will be on the Xfinity and Truck Series schedule for a Friday-Saturday show Easter weekend. Do we like that? Do we like Rockingham have an event? At least it's close to home for those teams, right? Like that's kind of what I'm looking at.
I'm sure it'll be a race. I
I'm
don't
excited.
like Rockingham.
Okay.
It's more of a petty thing than it is a realistic thing, but I mean, I hope he puts on a good race at least.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, I'm trying to think how to, I'm from a historical preservation stance. I'm really happy that Rockingham stuck around. I think it should have a place somewhere on the lower series schedules. Like you're saying, I hope it does put on a good race. But yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Take a race away from Darlington. Put Rockingham back on the schedule.
Ugh.
I'm just saying inflammatory things. AJ Allmendinger will be back full-time Cup racing in 2025 in what continues to be the most confusing team in the garage area, Colleague Racing.
They really are. I've made this joke 18 times on the show, but they really are doing the thing. Can anybody here drive? Can
We have a seat. It's funded somehow, and we just need someone to get in the seat.
Well, that's the thing. The 16 wasn't funded this year. That's the whole reason.
Must be now.
So
I have to. I gotta imagine. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm wondering. I'm assuming Hemrick isn't back in the 31 next year, right? Because I completely forgot when I was sitting there Saturday waiting for practice. I'm like, who's in the two? Who are the drivers in the two colleague cars? I didn't realize AJ was in the 16 this weekend, and then I just completely forgot Daniel Hemrick existed. And I like Daniel Hemrick, so that's not good.
Are they just gonna swap them? I don't know what they're doing. Because he's had some solid runs this year, but nothing really of note is the problem.
Because I'm starting to wonder what Trackhouse's plans for Zane Smith and SVG are at this point.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Is he's more than likely out if they're selling a charter, or loaning it out, or putting one of Trackhouse's guys in it.
Yeah.
It's just who knows what this team's doing, dude. It's so bizarre.
They're having fun.
My theory is still
Davey's having
that
fun. Look at him.
My theory is still that Chandler Smith leaving at the 11th hour made them panic, and they put AJ in the 16 Xfinity car to save the program, basically. Because I think they looked at it and was like, I think we can sell a rent-a-ride scheme on the 16 Cup car better than we can on the 16 Xfinity car. That's the only thing I can imagine, because now he's going right back into the Cup car again. AJ, I think you're in an abusive relationship, and I think you should get out, man. So
AJ's
It's-
always having fun though, you know.
Colleague is such a mess right now. It's just bizarre. So I hope this works. Who knows?
College just needs to fire like everyone NASCAR related, like as far as like drivers go and crew chiefs and stuff like that, and just keep AJ Allmendinger and then just go sports car racing.
Just start over. Yeah.
Go to IMSA, win a Rolex 24 with AJ Allmendinger and like I don't know.
AJ SPG, Ross Chastain,
Yeah, exactly.
Daniel Suarez. There's your team of 4.
Honestly, the AJ Shane connection in IMSA would go crazy.
Oh yeah.
Be unbelievable.
Yeah. What a weird team.
Haas Factory team announced their driver lineup Saturday for next year in the Xfinity Series. Sam Mayer will move from Junior Motorsports and drive the newly rebranded number 41. Sheldon Creed, who finished second again, will be in the 00.
It's gonna happen one of these days. It's gonna. I was saying I think last week that I thought it was weird that Sam Mayer was on his way out at JRM, but he's having a much worse season than I thought he was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's not far ahead of Brandon Jones, who is
He's just one.
Out of the
what
playoffs.
what we in the industry would describe as butt ass shit this year. Yeah,
The fact that Brandon Jones has not won a race in a JRM car.
it's literally up until he moved into it, that's been the most consistent car in Xfinity in how many
Honestly,
years?
shows how good JGR equipment is.
Yeah,
Just saying. Guess who's in JGR equipment and not winning races right now?
and
Sheldon Creed,
a lot of
Joe Graf Jr.
I mean,
a lot
that's an obvious
of a lot of Brandon Jones. There's been a lot of dumb luck that's happened to Brandon Jones, but a lot of it comes back to I think I've used this term on the show before, what I refer to as the stupid
Butt-ass
zone.
naked. Oh.
Yeah. It's what I refer to as the stupid zone, which is 8th to 16th, which is where all the dumb shit happens. And if you run worse than that, you're fine, and if you run better than that, you're fine. But if you're right in the middle of it, like Brandon Jones is, that's why dumb stuff happens to him all the time.
Like this past weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
When he was up front, it was fine. When he was in the very back, it was also fine. But as soon as he went up through
When
the
he was
pack, dumb shit happened.
Racing with Riley Herbst, it did not go well.
No. So, yeah. Where are we talking? Oh, we're talking about Haas. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say about that.
I don't know what they're doing. Because they're supposed... I guess they're the Ford development team, but, I don't know what we're really developing here. We talked about it last week. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of seats that are going to be opening up that will be unaccounted for right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the 00 and the 98 this year have been two of the better cars, week in and week out. So, there's potential there for those guys to win a lot of races. They're just going to have to actually do it.
Yeah.
So, last bit of news, Kroger is likely to land now at RFK. Originally, it was rumored that they would be going to JGR because of Tad Geschichter's relationship with Joe Gibbs Racing. I think he has a role there, or he has ownership or something, or he runs the sponsor firm that helps JGR partner with companies. But now Kroger's likely to land at RFK. Rumors of a possible third charter for that team. Don't know where they get that charter from, if it's one of the SHR charters or not. What do we think about that, and why is Ryan Preece a driver that's tied to this ride?
I don't know, man. I just really want Ryan Preece to go to the Xfinity Series. Please, just stop putting me through this. I know you finished 11th today. Stop putting me through this. Go back to Xfinity, where you win races, you have won races, you finish races well. Please stop doing this to me. Please, I'm begging at this point. I need the bleeding to stop.
There was a recent Denny Hamlin quote about Corey LaJoie that really applies to him, which is go win races. If you got to drop down a series, do it, but go win.
Yeah.
Give people a reason to hire you for their car. So yeah.
Thank you for summarizing that well. Otherwise, I don't care where the fuck Kroger goes, dude.
Okay.
It's a big sponsor.
What happens to the 47? That's the real thing. Like,
are we gonna be freed from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. terrorism
remember, they just re-signed him.
on purpose?
Yeah. I wonder
you,
what
Noah.
that sponsorship for that car is gonna look like.
Can you imagine? Also, since we're talking about Kroger, the biggest controversy we've had in NASCAR in a hot minute was because the Kroger sponsored driver absolutely murked Ryan Preece, and then Ryan Preece steals Kroger and goes to
Steals him
RFK
back.
with it.
Remember, he drove
steals
the
him
Kroger
back.
car his rookie
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. I always forget about that year. That's such a weird
He was
year.
teammates with Ricky Stenhouse.
In an unchartered, like, shit box.
It's like they were running it like purely out of obligation. They're like, oh god.
Probably, honestly. Felt like it
Remember,
at
they didn't
times.
show up to the
Yeah.
All-Star race
I remember.
because they didn't have to.
Oh my gosh.
I love that rule. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to our bottom split moments of the week. Who wants to go first? My bottom
I'll
split
go.
moment of the week. I talked about MIS and the sore state of repair that some of the facilities are in. But I'd like to go to whoever made the traffic plan to get out of the venue. I know it's supposed to take a while to get out of a sports event. I get that. It shouldn't take me an hour and 20 minutes, and it was going to take me more time. Having one gate open for a parking lot with like 600 to 700, probably more cars in it, not a smart idea. And to only have one lane of traffic getting out of the parking lot, also not a smart idea. When you have multiple gates to get out of said parking lot, directing all the traffic to go the same way, not a great idea. I can go on. There was an accident too, because people were slowing down and stuff to a red light going north on a freeway that was adjacent to the racetrack. I don't know if that tells you about how good their parking and planning structure. Also, there's this little side road that they always turn into a 2-lane road. They have cops kind of stationed every couple of intersections to make sure cars don't enter going the wrong way. It wasn't enough for some cars. Saw cars going the wrong way, head on into traffic that was going going the same way on a 2-lane road. Just want to say shout out to the Michigan State Police for absolutely fumbling the bag. And shout out to MIS for whoever came up with this new traffic pattern that has not worked the last 2 years and will continue not to work until they go back to what they had before. So, thank you. That was my bottom split moment of the week. Traffic getting out of the venue. And also traffic getting into the venue is also apparently terrible. So, really sucks because it used to be really good getting out of there. Like, you'd be out in like 10, 15 minutes and yeah, okay. Anyways, I hate lines. I hate traffic.
Yeah, sounds like about time.
Yeah.
My bottom split moment of the week was Austin Dillon wrecking 2 people to win at Richmond.
Wasn't that just last week?
No, that was Joe's last week. That's my bottom split moment this week.
Oh, okay. It'll probably be mine next week then.
No, your bottom split
We'll
moment's going to be when the appellate panel retracts NASCAR's penalty and gives Austin Dillon the spot.
I just want to point out, last week I said as a joke, like, imagine if Austin Dillon goes on a tear and he was running like top 5 for a good portion of this race, and I was like, oh baby. Like, imagine he just wins his way in anyway at Daytona.
Really don't want
Objectively, we don't want it, but it would be objectively the funniest result possible.
He wins at Darlington.
Yeah. My bottom split moment is very near and dear to my heart. It's my boy Dean Wilson. So it's moto related. I haven't talked about this in a hot minute. So there's this thing called the SMX playoffs where the top 20 riders and combined points across both series automatically get in, and you score like $100,000 if you finish like 10th, right? Like, it's giving out big money. Everybody wants in. There's also a 10-man LCQ, so if you don't make the top 20, it's totally fine. But nobody wants to go through the LCQ because it sucks. Dean Wilson is currently sitting 21st in points, chasing Kyle Chisholm for the 20th spot. Dino has barely run outdoors, and so this week he's like, I'm gonna field my own bike. I'm gonna be there, right? And I'm gonna earn those points on Chiz, and I'm gonna pass him. It's his last name shortened. Don't give me that look. Lap 1 of the first moto, or actually no. Kyle barely made the field. He hasn't gone to an LCQ in 16 years, and he was that close to doing it again. So it's already looking good for Dino. Lap 1, Dean gets run into, breaks his front wheel. He finishes dead last. Chisholm finishes 16th and puts a bunch of points on him. Very next moto, Dino has a problem with the replacement part, finishes 21st, scores a point. Chiz finishes 19th and puts more points on him. And just like that, Dino is like 30 points out of a transfer spot. He would have basically been in the exact same position if he didn't show up. And instead now he has a broken motorcycle and spent a bunch of money traveling. So, sorry, Dino, but you are my bottom slip moment of the week for that. So, yeah.
All right.
Fun.
Davey, what's your road pro moment of the week?
Got a new water bottle.
Awesome.
Yep.
Hydro flask.
Hydro flascular.
All right. Matt, what's your road pro moment of the week?
I couldn't really think about it, so I got a new keyboard. That's about it.
Heck yeah, it sounds good too. Look at that.
Yeah.
Sounds great. What
What about you, Joe?
What was my road to pro moment of the week? Do I have one? I was at a racetrack. That was fun.
It's always a good time.
Yeah. Road to pro moment of the week goes out. That guy I was talking about earlier, that took his kid. He was. They were going to go see Ricky Stenhouse after that at a Kroger in Jackson. So that's like they were doing.
On purpose?
They were doing a whole tour, doing all these driver appearances. So road to pro moment to him. That was cool. Like to see it when parents of kids like do shit like that for them.
Yeah.
It's good. Road pro moment.
Hell yeah.
Do things for your kids, folks. They'll remember it. If you don't do things, they'll also remember that. So keep that in mind. Anyways, speaking of kids, Bristol is very tired, so I think it's time for us to wrap this up. Folks, this was a long one. We appreciate you guys so much, as always, for listening, for watching. Make sure if you haven't already, drop a like on the video and subscribe. It does a lot to help support us here on Track and Turf or at Fake Racers on X. Davey, what you got going on this week?
Trucks on Thursday on twitch.tv/D7H5 with an ER at the end. I'll be streaming that. It's the last race for the playoffs. I've had a horrendous truck season because if I don't finish 35th, I finish 3rd. And I finished 35th a lot. So I got to probably win my way into that one, so it'll be a good time watching me finish 4th and not do that. But other than that, Simtrax will have the US Royal Cup Series broadcast on Saturday night, where they are... Wait, no, they won't. It's Daytona weekend. Enjoy Daytona, folks. That's all I got going on. Follow me on Twitter, @DavyHauser, for funny tweets.
Matt, what you got going on this weekend? Or this week? I don't know. Overall.
You know, I'm struggling to think of anything I have planned.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
That's okay.
yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to cut the grass. I'm going to watch cars go fast at Daytona Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And then we got Maverick Cup Series action Tuesday the 20th from Michigan. And then we got Hobo Racing Truck Series action on Sunday the 25th from Daytona.
Yeah.
Tune in, watch those things. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So, folks, again, as always, appreciate you guys for tuning in, for listening. However you support us, leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or you can also leave a reply on Spotify. We appreciate you for interacting. Interact with us. It does a lot to help support us. And we can't wait to see you guys next week on the Fake Racers podcast.
Goodbye.